Good evening and welcome to Mindful Live 195. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is Wednesday, the 8th of the 3rd month in the year of our Lord 2023. Love this setup, thank you. 2023. Yep. The year is speeding on. It's the 3rd month already. Imagine that. January gone. February gone. March already 8 days in and it's Wednesday. Wednesday is the middle of the week. On this day, Mr. Know It All. No, sir, I do not. 40-year-old virgin. I do not know it all. You see, I made a video on this recently. There's a statement, a quote attributed to one Socrates, an ancient Greek philosopher. The only true wisdom or the only true knowledge or the one thing I know is that I know nothing. You see that kind of humility in wisdom and knowledge. It's very key. That's how you learn. You see, if you have the idea that you know everything already, then there's nothing for you to learn, and it makes it very difficult for you to learn things. But if you have the idea that there are many things you don't know, there you go. Nope. Remember, the first PM said that Tobago exchanged British colonialism for Trinidad colonialism. I don't agree with that. You know, I'll be in Tobago. How the wife though? The wife nice. I'll be in Tobago sometime soon, and you know, I'd like to have a sit down and discuss where we could actually bring some of these points, because I find sometimes when I listen to some of what the Tobagonians speak about, it seems like the regular things that Trinidadians complain about, as it would be services not being rendered from the government, Tobagonians take that personally. So whereas Trinidadians would be like, we've been waiting on a box train in our community for the last 30 years, Tobagonians would say that, well, this means that Trinidadians hate Tobago. No, it's that government services have poor delivery. But I think we could have a discussion on that. Come through, man. Let me have a discussion here. I would enjoy that. Tobago needs Trinidad more than, hey, see that kind of talk. That's the kind of talk that gets Tobagonians angry. But one of the topics we're covering tonight is going to have some of that. Tobago need for Trinidad, because we're talking about the Tobago Jazz Festival, which is on the horizon. Soon to come, the Tobago Jazz Festival. I saw an article recently. Gospel added to Tobago Jazz Festival. Tickets on sale Friday. After a 3-year absence, the Tobago Jazz Festival returns in April 2023 and will for the first time include a gospel jazz evening. At the launch of the event on Tuesday, Tobago Festivals Commission Limited CEO John Arnold said that the festival promises to be a marvelous experience that boasts of being much more than just music. You know, as a musician, something I wonder about. I know you would think I'm incorrect about that, Aliki, and that's why I said we'd have to sit down and have that discussion, because here where I could sit here and speak out 3 paragraphs, and then the only thing you could do is respond with 10 words, if so much. It doesn't make for a conducive discussion. It's one-sided, it's lopsided. I could discuss something with you and it seems like I make all the sense and you don't, because you can't discuss back. So yeah, we'll have to sit and have that discussion. But yeah, a question I have as a musician out here, something I wonder about. Does jazz not have a meaning anymore? Isn't jazz like a genre of music in and of itself? Am I just ignorant of something here? I always thought, you know, as a musician, I always thought that jazz was, you know, a specific style of music. Like there's blues, there's soca, there's R&B, there's rap, there's pop, there's reggae, there's jazz. So This whole thing kind of confuses me. They say that they have planned a gospel jazz event. We start on Thursday, April 20th with the gospel jazz evening, Arnold said. Some of the artists already confirmed for that would include people like Positive, people like Samuel Midas, people like the internationally famous Jonathan Nelson. So that's going to take place at Shaw Park Complex. Now, I don't mind Positive, I don't mind Samuel Midas, I don't mind those guys, but I don't think they sing jazz. The jazz name is just a brand name for the festival. It would sure seem so. To me, I would wonder, at least I would wonder, originated is as the French in the French quarters of America. Okay. Well, to me, I would wonder why not just kind of rename it. It seems kind of confusing a bit to me. You say the jazz festival, and like if you advertise this festival to the world as the jazz festival, the first thing is people who are connoisseurs, people who are appreciators of jazz may look into this looking for jazz and be disappointed, and then you may throw off some people who may be looking just for the general music festival. They would see this and they would be expecting to see someone sit down with a guitar and play some intricate arpeggios and all of that. And they're like, you know what, I'm not for all of that jazz, so this mightn't be the festival for me. While it's just a music festival, like Toobago Music Festival, why doesn't that work? Just my question. I wonder sometimes. He said the commission is open to private promoters hosting fringe events on April 21st on Saturday. April 22nd, all roads will lead to Sunset Valley at Speyside with acclaimed Jamaican reggae acts such as Richie Spice and Everton Blender among a full cast of performers. On the same day, the Mount Irvine Bay Resort will be reintroducing its beach jazz event on the international night, April 23rd, and I have a little surprise for you. We want to prepare a place that's going to be very special. He said on that night, headline artists will include legendary R&B group Boys to Men, Grammy-winning reggae star Coffee, Toobago singer Sharon Phillips, jazz artist Vonette Bigford, and jazz guitarist Theron Shaw. Finally, some jazz people inside are there. Finally. We should have a soca festival. Well, we might have a soca festival, and then when you go to the soca festival, you recognize that they invited some flamenco singers or something inside of there. The way how we're confusing the genres here. But you know, you're saying that Scafty, and I honestly think something like a soca festival might have more appeal than the Soca Monarch as it stands. The Soca Monarch as it stands. I think something like a Soca festival, if you were to have something, you call it a Soca festival, it's an exhibition of soca through the years, etc., etc., etc. That might have a bigger appeal than the Soca Monarch as it stands. Please tell me why Tobago needs Trinidad more than Trinidad needs Tobago, Aleki asks one of the commenters there. Well, Aleki, one of the reasons some people might say that might have to do with this next article I saw here. Toobago Festival CEO, almost 70% of jazz experience visitors from Trinidad. Toobago Festivals Commission Limited CEO John Arnold says research has shown the Toobago jazz experience has traditionally attracted approximately 70% of visitors from Trinidad, and he expects that percentage will be maintained or increased for the upcoming jazz experience. The return from April 20th to 23rd, given the efforts being made by the Commission, THA Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, and its supporting agencies to market the island's signature event. You have a festival that has a name, and the jazz following is one that's known, but the research has indicated that over 65 to 70% of visitors for Toobago jazz comes from the domestic market in Trinidad. I think that will continue, Arnold said on Thursday. That's just the reality. Now, the thing is, I don't like the conversations speaking about things like Toobago needs Trinidad more than Trinidad needs Toobago. To me, that's like saying something like Cedrus needs Trinidad more than Trinidad needs Cedrus. Like, Maybe, but that's inconsequential. I consider Tobago to be a part of Trinidad and Tobago. That's not in need, that is domestic tourism, it is economics. Well, you see, Aleki, if you want to go down in that pedantic road there, you could say that nobody needs anybody in that sense. Nobody needs anyone. But if you're talking comparatively for the economy of Tobago, Tobago depends on Trinidad for its economic benefit more than Trinidad depends on Tobago for its economic benefit. That's just a fact. And to negate that and to try and run around that, it makes you seem dishonest to me. It makes you seem dishonest. It makes the conversations more difficult. That's just a fact. So, if we want to move forward, we move forward with the facts. And to me, I say I don't even like these kinds of these avenues of discussion because I consider us to be one country. I saw why is that? The reason for that is because Tobago's main economy comes from main economic activity comes from tourism, and most of their tourists come from Trinidad. The reason for that partly would be because Tobago's income is 200 million, somewhere around there, while Tobago's expenditure is 2 point something billion. Like, that's just how a country functions. And I saw someone earlier said that it was said previously Tobago gave up British colonialism for Trinidadian colonialism, and I hate statements like that. Those are things in the past. Throw away that kind of nonsense. Tobago isn't a colony of Trinidad. They are part of the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. That's history. That's already there. If you want to separate and go on your own, well, you could try to do that, and I think it would be a disaster. But other than that, we are one. We are one country. It's one country. That's just the way it is. One country. So I don't see it as one needing the other more. We all need the centrality because we belong to the same country. The way how some people make that statement seem is it's somehow an attempt to decrease the worthwhileness, I guess, of Tobagonians and Tobago. So Tobagonians are leeches on Trinidad. That's the way some people try to make that seem. And I disagree. I don't think that's what that is. Even the 70% of visitors for the Tobago Festival coming from Trinidad, that's not Tobago being a leech to Trinidad. That's us benefiting from the diversity, from the differences we have within our Twin Island Republic. So we have a Caroni Swamp. The Caroni Swamp does not have a factory that's going to bring in tax revenue. No. The Caroni Swamp may be very essential to replenishing the maritime wildlife. The Caroni Swamp may be a visitor's paradise, but that Caroni Swamp area doesn't bring in money on its own, but it's a part of the entirety of the entity. It can be specialized like that. Scafty says, I'm always wonder why there are always discussions on Tobago separation from Trinidad and very few ... I suppose you will continue with that. Yeah, very few chat and bring us more together. Well, that's what I hope I can do here. We speak about Tobago every week, and I hope we can be brought together more. I disagree. Like, okay, I understand that there is some friction in the interactions between Tobagonians and Trinidadians. You see that seems obvious, but I disagree that Tobago is a second-class part of Trinidad and Tobago. I disagree, and I think the facts don't bear that out. I don't think the facts bear that out. When you compare Tobago to most places inside of Trinidad and Tobago, Tobago functions relatively well compared to the other areas. My boy with the fire mustache, yeah. My depression is crippling. Okay, sir. Okay, you should probably get some exercise, some sunlight, and see someone about that. Depression kills, bro. Depression kills. I saw this story is so crazy. This is insane. One of the bodies that were discovered 2 years ago. After 2 years, body in Tobago, boat named buried. This person is now being buried and recognized. 2 years. 2 years. I kind of forgot about that story. I remember when that story first popped up, because that was kind of in the height of the pandemic. Tobago needs a drastic increase in population. Too little people here, too few people there. I wonder what the general Tobagonians would have to say about that, RL. I wonder what most Tobagonians. I know you are a Tobagonian and you are in Tobago. I know that, but I mean the wider Tobago. Like if you go to most Tobagonians and propose that Tobago doesn't have enough people, you need to bring in more people. Whether Tobagonians would agree with that or not, and how would you bring in more people? I mean, I could tell you, I'm a Trini. And I would love to live in Tobago. So, what would you do to bring in more people to live in Tobago? The main thing, I suppose, would be attract them from Trinidad. But how would you do that? And it may be the prime time to do some of this, because even the way work is done now is kind of changing. Many people could work online and work from home a bit more. So people may be willing to live in areas like Tobago. What do you do to attract people like that? Troy TQZF85X. Wow. Why bring in more people to suffer with high costs of living? I suppose if you bring in more people, the idea might be that you would have a larger market, and having a larger market might actually cause a decrease in the cost of living. That may be a possibility. You see, if there are few people over in Tobago, many of the companies may not want to invest a lot in sending goods over there, so it would be more expensive to get goods over there. If there are more people, there would be a larger market of scale, and actually prices may go down. Troy says one pack of chicken is $30 in Tobago, while in Trinidad you could buy 2. Okay. I don't doubt that at all. RL, send the baby grant. Positive radiation says send the baby grant. Baby grant ain't gonna do that. Baby grant ain't doing a thing. If you're looking to increase Tobago population, like in the short term, looking to get people to make more babies is not how you do that. Making more babies is a long-term kind of project. You know, you don't aim to raise Tobago's population next year and say, well, make more babies, people. It's not gonna work. It won't work. It won't happen in time. So you'd have to attract more people there. And Tobago has the benefit of having ready populations in Trinidad where you can attract people there. But to me, for some of that to really work, Tobago would have to lean even more into the idea of specialization, and this is a view that I've had about the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago. I like the idea that Tobago could be more specialized, Trinidad could be specialized. So if Tobago is even more specialized, where you have certain areas more exclusively residential, and it's residential and tourism, that's the main part in Tobago. But would the people living in Tobago be okay with that? Would you be okay with having no large industries inside of Tobago? You won't have that kind of labor inside of Tobago. Everything is just residential and tourism. That's a good idea. We could get some universities here. Universities can help. Well, universities. I don't know the feasibility on universities inside of Tobago, how many universities Tobago would take, but certainly some tertiary education institutions, that would work. Yes, certainly some. Troy says, hey Nisi, what going on here? Nisi, why are you so late, Nisi? 10 o'clock. I am hurt. Troy says, let's be realist and logical. Tobago is a tourist island similar to Barbados. Beautiful islands. Tobago people have to go to Trinidad to attend UE. Okay, yes, Troy. Is that point going to be landing at somewhere? I agree. Tobago is a tourist island. I agree. But Barbados, if that's the point to do with university, if that's the point to do with university, Barbados has a university. So I don't understand how that negates the fact. No, not advised to mostly to Tobagonians, universities that are advertised to foreign students. Exactly. That's what I suppose you meant, RL. If you have tertiary institutions, universities that are advertised not just to Tobagonians but to everyone, international students, Trinidadian students. It's not just a Tobago thing, kind of like how people go to St. George's just for university. Exactly. Barbados has a university that people go to, that many people go to from international. Positive radiation back in with the aviation school. Look how it all pins and morphs together perfectly positive. It all works together perfectly. I remember you were talking about that aviation school before. That is something Tobago could really benefit from. And I guess that would all link perfectly right there. Tobago gets the opportunity to get international recognition, international people coming in and working and living there. It increases the population because the university population, you're going to have the population of the students and the population of the staff, and it would provide work and labor for many surrounding businesses, etc. Is a radiation, bro. Yeah, the aviation school could work too. Yeah, aviation school is tertiary. That's why I was using the term tertiary institution instead of just plain university, because I think personally, on a personal basis, I think, and I've said this before, some of the way universities have been set up over the past couple decades, even centuries, I think some of it may even be going obsolete. Yes, Chris 868, you are late, but you are here still. Yeah, I think some of them are obsolete. So the smaller, more mobile, more dynamic tertiary institutions may be something of the future. We're talking Tobago, Chris 868. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. A Marine University campus positive radiation says that again is a good idea. That again is a good idea. Something that can work. But how do you get something like that in there? Are you looking for private investment, or are you looking for the government to do this? How do you propose to have it done? And if you're looking for private investment, then you would have to have the government encouraging that private investment to come. How would the government do that encouragement? How would it happen? I was seeing a nice little letter, little songs kind of, belittling, but a nice letter out of Tobago explaining some of the difficulties in Tobago, bus blues in Tobago. I refer to the news that only a fraction of the PTSC buses, 2 or 3 of a fleet of some 35, were functioning in Tobago. It reached the media because Tobago was severely embarrassed when a cruise ship came calling and both locals and foreigners were in need of transport to take them to Scarborough and Crown Point to contribute much needed commerce to the island. You see, when I listen to some of the future ideas people have, when I listen to some people's future suggestions, it makes me wonder what makes us think any of these grand ideas can be carried out by any state or government when they can't even run buses. They can't even run buses. You see, like, you would hope if we are to move on to the bigger, grander ideas, that at least the simple ones run well. Like, Tobago being a tourist island, you'd suppose that at least the transportation service has to be prompt and reliable. That's an important part of tourism. If I enter here on a cruise ship, I am working on a schedule. I want to be able to see all that I want to see and get back to my cruise ship in time. What's to happen if even the buses don't work on time? One local passenger, a pensioner, made an important point. He could not spend the $9 taxi fare and had no choice but to wait for the bus. This is the plight for many. Fuel prices are pauperizing the nation. You see, when the government speaks about things like the PTSC as solutions, the PTSC has to function first. It has to function first. how could it be that on the Tobago, how could it be that on the island where tourism is supposed to be the specialization, transport is failing? And that's a perfect lead in to something I saw a business that got highlighted in the Guardian out of Tobago there. All things Tobago brings new life to islands tourism. The COVID-19 pandemic may have stalled Tobago's tourism sector for over 2 years, but in its wake, much needed innovations for the sector are coming forward. One such is the new digital platform, All Things Tobago, which was created by Alphalia. Wow, what a name! Alphalia Telesford and Sharon Rose Daly last year. Telesford told the Business Guardian that the platform was created when she realized the approach to selling some of Tobago's most well-known attractions had not changed for decades. One of the major sources of income in Tobago tourism sector is the Buku Reef and the Nyland Pool. So you have those boats that take you to the Buku Reef and the Nyland Pool and then to no man's land, said Telesford. In Tobago, now the reef boats get their clients. In Tobago, how the reef boats get their clients, they would send some guys on the beach and they would sell tickets to the boat. So the boat owner would give them a ticket book and they would sell those tickets to the people who visited. Only when you reach for your vacation, then you'll be able to book your ticket. So they would be on the beach hustling and they get families to go on the Nyland Pool. So anyone who knows that, why not try a card system? Card with what? With the bus? And I suppose her main thing is through her online platform, she has created a way for people to even book some of these things. And not just dealing with this All Things Tobago specific platform, but dealing with general solutions. I think personally, this is how general solutions happen. Private people with the ideas. Private people with the ideas. Because waiting for the government to enact many of these things, it's going to feel. It's going to feel just like the bus service. A card system with the bus, I don't understand how the card system is going to make the bus work better. Like, I agree a card system might be more beneficial. I agree. I don't know where Roni is. It's Tobago Day and she is not here. Nisi, where's Roni? I see y'all are just, y'all are ignoring the lives these days. They aren't in the lives these days positive. I don't know. They're missing in action. Rooney was talking to me earlier today, so I don't know. Really is strange. But yeah, you look at many of these things, the government can't even get the bus to work on time. The solution is in private. Earl Panton says the core of our issues are lack of discipline and ingenuity. We are not a service-minded population. Would you say that Trinidad and Tobago's population are similarly minded on the service end? Because I could tell you, I find personally, when I'm in Tobago, the service, the customer care I get, the kind of service you get generally in Tobago is totally different than the general service you get in Trinidad. I find there's a difference there. So is it that Trinidad and Tobago, both as a joint population, we're lacking that service-minded kind of nature, or is it just a more Trini thing? I don't find I see the same thing in Tobago, generally speaking. I really don't find I see so. Can I jump in? Of course you can, Positive. Oh, you were waiting there. Of course you can jump in. Let's make sure the mic is picking up. You're on the inside, Positive. Hello.
To London model, which is one where the metro is tied with the bus service, is also tied with some of the taxi systems. I think that model is used in London. Clearly, it's a private sector, public sector partnership All of those buses have GPSs. All of them have known routes. It's a really efficient model that is used. So I think if you get a chance, it's something you could look into.
Yeah, something that I note with the United Kingdom in general. They're one of the places I find where they have one of the best examples by and large of how government services can function well, generally speaking. You look there and many of their government services function closer to what you would think they were intended to function as. And I think some of that has to do with how it was created, how Trinidad was created versus how the United Kingdom was created. The United Kingdom, over the thousands of years of history, they're all working together, thinking, okay, we're working for our own benefit. This is our land. I think many, and I always say this, the colonial nature of Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes some people don't seem to have the kind of ownership of the land. They don't seem to have that kind of ownership feeling of the land a bit. So, but I heard what you said, and I think that would be an ideal thing if you could get that private-public partnership to work together to get through with the transport. That would be perfect. Go to Barbados, Grenada, St. Lucia and see how tourism attractions are maintained and appreciated, Earl Panton says. Here's the thing, Earl Panton, I believe you, and I agree, it's true. Yes, but part of the reason is necessity. That's part of the reason. The real fact is this, and I know some Tobagonians may not totally like this, but the fact of the matter, I think, is that the reality where Tobago could have always yanked on the Trinidad chain to get some money flowing into their country meant that they never had to take real keen interest, and I'm not talking Tobago as the just now positive, just now. They never, you will, of course, you know, I allow you to counter what I say. I find, because they always had the ability for Trinidad to pay the money into their economy to run their budget, they, as the THA, the governing body of Tobago, never had the need to create that sustainability economically on Tobago's side. If Tobago had no way of getting money otherwise, they would have had no choice. The governors, the people who were ruling Tobago, would have had no choice but to maintain and push things to create that economic movement otherwise. But they don't have that need. Disagree, positive?
Let me clarify my position on such matters.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to go into my diplomatic voice at this current moment just to be professional. History will show you there was once a time when Tobago was the breadbasket of the Caribbean. Unfortunately for us, Trinidad struck black gold. The oil crumbs in those days were plentiful. Oil crumbs were a whole loaf. And your crumbs. So when you all send your crumbs to my predecessors, those are my great grandparents who I never know never exist. Them they get a cut thumb to the not planting your food and the importation culture. It happened just that it lasted over extended period of time. Now we're in a state where we need to go back to that, and my generation going forward having a challenge now readjusting. That's where the problem is. Because let's be real, if Tobago really takes agriculture seriously and at least feed its own self, we can do it. We know what blue food can do. We have seen it. Hey. Blue food have people talking in tongues, unfortunately.
Stop it, positive. Stop it. It's how he say that, and then mute mic and disappear one time. He just dropped that and mute mic and gone. I see in your positive, you like your bacchanal, you're putting your proper voice to drop your bacchanal in the place. Talking about the benefits of blue food and what blue food could do. I'm watching the news here. You know, they had the national track and field stuff, and of course, all you feeling all of the trend, this blue food thing. Tobago sweep national secondary schools track and field champs. Tobago swept the national schools track and field championship at the Dwight York Stadium on Thursday as Signal Hill, Roxborough, Scarborough Secondary captured the top 3 overall positions respectively. After 111 events across 2 days, Signal Hill finished ahead of the 80 participating schools. 80 schools participate from across Trinidad and Tobago, and 3 Tobago schools beat all our way up. Oh geez, this blue food is the blue food. So you're right. The blue food shows that it has the benefits, and I agree. That you're echoing my point a bit there. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's not just that Trinidad was giving Tobago, and that's why. The reason Trinidad could have given Tobago was because Trinidad was giving itself too. Trinidad found oil. There's a term for it, the Dutch disease, I believe, is the economic term for it, where many countries, when they find those abundant natural resources, it kind of cripples them otherwise. And Trinidad has some of that same thing too. Trinidad itself has some of that, and Tobago has it by proxy. So that's why I would say that's why you look at Tobago and you try to compare Tobago to Barbados, Grenada, St. Lucia, etc. And you're like, why? And that's why. And I would like to put it that this is not a knock on the individual Tobagonians, because one Tobagonian, your great grandparent, as you were talking about radiation, they themselves could not have changed this. This was a matter of governance. It had to do with the decisions made by those in charge of governance through the years. When I come into power and I know that my budget for the year comes from Trinidad and it's so much and so much billion, I know I could just afford to pay all my friends. I know I could afford to spread money out willy-nilly through the country to try and buy more voters, and I could do that every election over and over because the money is going to keep coming. I don't have to think about the sustainability of this in the coming 30 years. Yeah, Aleki.
So one, let me double back on the point that Positive made, right? Trinidad found black gold,
yeah,
and that caused a certain part in history that we still trying to readjust from, right? You just made a point there, right? Gosh, I can't explain it, but yeah, Tobago, right? We, in a sense that okay, we gaining money, right? But understand this, when given the chance to allow Tobago to put itself in greater economic, a greater or a better economic position, there's persons opposing that, right? When I'm talking about with the conversation with international government and so forth, right? And which let me reiterate this. I think persons missed the point and think that it's separation we're talking about. But understand this. If you have greater autonomy to do certain things for yourself, then obviously, then you will decide certain things for yourself. You wouldn't wait on the central government to do things. That is how this is. I think somebody mentioned that Tobago could talk. If Tobago find oil, they could talk to BP. But right now, how this system is structured, that can't happen. Right? It cannot happen. That conversation has to come through the central government.
Yes, correct.
Bro, let me cut you. It is so bad where we have fishermen complaining that BP and Shell scraping up their fads and their fish pots in the waters north of Trinidad, and they keep going to the THA, and the THA say we have no say, we can't. When you look at the THA Act, they can't do anything when it comes to those issues. We people talking about trade. If Miss Gopi's couldn't decide Tobago cannot export, Tobago cannot export. That's the reality. So I like that. We need to look at the practicality of it. If Tobago could have done better on its own in making some of these deals, they would have done it already. Correct. We simply can't. We only become valuable to Trinidadians when the ball is tight in Trinidad, and they want to determine who will become the government. Then the two Tobago seats become critical. After that, we are just like dog mess.
Correct. But let me add this, right? The same exporter with the Minister for Trade. Remember that spell, the Study Park company, the company charged the quarry. Remember they applied for an export license, right? And they were denied, stating that the country doesn't have enough aggregate. So the THM is making a move to export outside of Trinidad and Tobago directly, and we are blocked, right? So it is not that the THM not trying, but certain things down the road into the central government is blocking us and telling us nonsense. But when a middleman
or somebody in Trinidad come and like purchase the agree from Toobago and operate do a middleman kind of transaction and then export it, then it's not a problem. But when the THA try to do it, it's a problem. So we are denied the export license. So you have a good point there. So the system itself doesn't allow that. I understand the point that Nathan is making, but at the same time, saying that it is like we got custom. No, when people try, it's sort of well, we are getting blockages at certain points, right? And in terms of the transportation, the card system can work. One counter argument somebody might say is that okay, to be good at the population like England and so forth, but understandable. But we do have to get the population like England to have a card system.
No.
And the card system now will allow, like for example, how the system in England operates. Eventually, it caps off. So the more you use the public service, the more you use the buses and the train, because you use the one card for the bus and the tube, right? The double-decker buses and the tube, you use the one card, the Oyster card, right? The more eventually, when they start using it, you will start to take money from the card, and eventually, once you cross a certain number, it caps off. So it basically rewards it for you using the system more. So in a sense, and then the system is very reliable, right?
Yeah.
In Tobago now. No, I don't give the public wrong for complaining about the public transportation system in Toobago, because the reality is we don't have enough buses, right? And let me talk some facts now, right? If you look at the kind of buses we used to have before, most of the first significant batch of new buses that we got was the last batch of buses that we got, which was the 15, which was 10 diesel manual buses and 5 CNG, right? That was to me the most significant amount of brand new buses that we got. Because before that, what used to happen is they used to give us the buses that they use in Trinidad most of the time before. Talking facts.
Second-hand bus.
U-turn and high on the U-turn and old high buses, most of them were used in Trinidad. When they came brand new in Trinidad, they used them in Trinidad and they send them across here. That is eventually now that they start to feel when after the driver flatuled so much, when they come over and try to battle the hills, they start to fail. The brakes start to go out. Eventually, that costs a life for somebody in Lansbury. Now, when they wake up, think who was the Minister of Transportation at the time? Hines. MP Hines was the Minister who works on transportation. They came across the strategy. They promised to be go the 15 buses, right? We get the 15 buses. Then persons don't know. I used to be around where the buses are based in Toobago, I was very close to that, so I could tell you. Eventually, no, not too long after the buses came, especially diesel manual buses, all of them was withdrawn from service. All of them. When they tried to find out what was the reason, they said one of them had a defect. So they checked all. Then they hear that they had a gearbox problem, right? They were withdrawn from service. Eventually, they came back to service, right? That about less than a year, about a few months again, about 6 months or so again, they withdrew them again. And between that time, there's certain areas they was using small maxi taxis on those routes, right? But right now, we do have enough buses. And then the next thing, what we know the Charlottesville route is that since the Bad Rock landslides last year, the PTSD not allowing the buses to go beyond and that's PTSD,
something I wondered about by Aleki. Something I've wondered about, because I live in Trinidad. I've seen the buses running on some of the rural runs, and they aren't full. But they are essential on some of those rural runs. Some of the people that get that 5 o'clock bus out where you might consider the middle of nowhere, that is home to them. And if the 5 o'clock bus doesn't run, they're in difficulty. So I don't think that the bus should not run. But I mean, I heard you said they were using maxis. I think, why doesn't the PTSC invest in some more practical transportation vehicles for the locations? I don't think maximum size buses might be the ideal thing for Tobago. I don't think you need a bus to hold 50 people to go through the hills. I don't think you need
listen to this later, right? When that same is when the bus when on the precipice in Lansbury, the interim solution before the 15 buses came was they sent across 2 Mitsubishi Rosa Maxi. The same Maxi with the bus route.
Yeah.
They sent across 2 like that, right? My question is, where are those 2 buses today? Where those 2 Maxis today? Where are they? because those plastic would have been nice to use on the shallows, but where are they? They are nowhere. If even if they are in Tobago, it don't seem like they're operational because they are not even using them, right? And I do not think they're in Tobago because if they were, I sure that we're using them, right? Where are those? Right? We have no idea where they're.
Aleki,
I understand the point you're making. You could use more practical thing, but
I understand what you're saying there.
Stuff.
And they in a man yard, Rooney says. Rooney says they in a man yard. What you're saying there, Aleki, fits so perfectly into a view I'm having with more and more with governance in how governance works. Yes, many politicians are dishonest, many of them are crooks, many of them steal. But the fact is, like you were talking about, yeah, there's the side with Trinidad hit black gold and it spoiled Tobago, but that's not just it. Many of the times when they were trying to do something, people and things were in their way stopping them from doing things. You know, when you talk to every politician, that's what they say. Even the prime ministers themselves, you talk to them. If you actually get to be able to talk to them in something off the record or something, they would tell you, yeah, I'm trying to get that done. Yeah, I'm trying to get that done. But you would imagine how hard it is to get. And you recognize more and more that it's like we're in a system here and the system is controlling us and no individual is really and truly controlling the system. You could get to plop yourself into a position and it's like you're a gear in a wheel. You're a wheel in the gear. You're a cog in the gear in the wheel of a whole massive machine and you can't change anything that machine does. Although you are there, it's not much you could do to change the thing. The problem with that is it makes it very difficult to point the finger and have some accountability for an individual in this. So the individual could always be like, well, you know, the system, it's hard for me to make a change because the system, it's hard for me to do that because the system, and when it goes through like that, it's never anyone's fault. No one's fault. No one is ever to blame. Ever. Yeah, positive.
For me, this is my second major pet peeve. I have spoken to both ministers, assemblymen, MPs, Alaki as well. We know each other very good. One of the things that they would always tell you, they keep trying, and when you hear some of them complain, you're like, but this is ridiculous. Why somebody just sit down on it? The reason people are getting paid is because IAE one decide she not sign or she not coming to work today. That's ridiculous. Who takes the blame? The politician. When the politician brings the issue to light, you're throwing the public servant under the bus. Come on, let me be real. When that politician do come and make that public, now the opposition go and say, you're targeting the public servants. Public servants, don't vote for them at the next election, vote for we.
But
you could do what you want.
The prime example with that positive.
You under the bus.
I'm pretty sure.
To the system. The whole system corrupt.
I'm pretty sure you will hear positive radiation.
Politicians need to be true to the people.
I'm pretty sure you will hear.
Name and shame them publicly. Let's begin to do that.
I agree. I'm pretty sure you were here when we were talking about the port and was it MP Keith Scotland asking the people in the port, what can we do to help the scanners? And they're like, we don't know. And that's how it goes sometimes. You're pointing at the politician and it's a whole system inside there that makes the thing very difficult. Rooney says, but when Farley was in opposition, he said not to blame the public servants. Or else as if the Tobagonians have the power to push sandals out, they have the power to push their own negotiation. Empress Rooney says them public servants horrible. Here's the before y'all jump in with that. Here's another part on that. I wanted to make a comment on something from what Aleki was saying long before. And this is the balancing act of Tobago. This is a balancing act and this is just the factual matter of it. So, as a country, you'd want your trade decisions as a country to function unified. Now, that would always make things a bit more tricky for Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is one country, and as one country, our trade policy is one trade policy. What we do is one thing. It's run by one minister. For Tobago to have the individual ability to go out there on the international market and function as an individual entity, that's kind of breaking apart the whole Trinidad and Tobago unified business. So I understand that Tobago would benefit much more if they could make those decisions on their own. I agree. I agree. But then part of what makes us one unified country is the fact that those decisions aren't made on your own. Shoguners might say if they could make certain decisions on their own, it may be better. And yes, Aliki and Positive, I understand the comparison of Shoguners to Tobago is not the same because Tobago is a separate island. I do understand that. But the point I'm making is politically, we are still one country.
Just that alone, the Shoguners Borough Corporation does not have to repair schools in the Shoguners Borough, while the THA has to repair schools in Tobago.
I would wish it was so. I keep saying this. I want more of those borough corporations to actually get more of the THA-like power. Instead of trying to pull the THA down from having as much power, I think we should be pushing the other corporations up so they get more power similar to the THA. Positive says right now I'm eating some harvest food for giving. RL says Trinidad and Tobago to me seems to be one of the most bureaucratic countries in the world.
No, I wanted to say something. I was asking to jump in, I don't know. I don't know how long to stay. But what I was saying is, right? Just to answer that, Shoguners Borough doesn't have to fix their schools. That is correct, but Shoguners Borough doesn't have the budget that the THA have. If they did, they might have been able to fix their own school. I'm sure they would have liked the opportunity to fix their own schools because the Ministry of Education have how much schools under their watch. And I'm sure there are schools that slip through the crack regularly. So if you as a borough have like 30 schools under you, then you may be able to better monitor and take care of your schools, right? So that being said, that was one. Somebody wanted to jump. Go ahead.
All right, so somebody, I realized somebody mentioned that say if Tobago have the power to push standards out, they have the power to push their own negotiation, which is not true, right? Because one, when it comes to standards, I let me be realistic, right? The central government at the time, that was a central government project, right? My problem was not with standards, My problem was the relocation. That's the thing. And the thing is, in terms of the location and certain aspects of that, we were just told. You didn't come to the Tobago public and ask them, okay, you guys want this? No. We were told. We were saying, this is what we're doing, and that is it, right? We were told, right? And that is factual. I'm telling you here. If you look at the media and so forth at the Prime Minister at the time, it was like that is the final, and there's a deal that he actually came out and said there's a deal that he made when he was opposition leader. That he did a discussion he had this opposition leader, right? So the point about standards, the central government never really pushed tourism. I'm talking about nationwide. This is not just Tobago alone. Never put, and so just come on us and push something like that to say that we are the power to push them out. Let me tell you something. When they deal with tourism developments, the public have a say as well. So I don't think somebody should ever try to push the public for rejecting something that they think that they don't want, right? Because the reality is, the developers do things that will aggravate people. I can find a whole lot of examples across the Caribbean to start, and some of them are very, very upsetting, right? So stakeholder and the public, which is the public, the citizens of the country, which are stakeholders, they also have a voice, and they have a right to have a voice. So just because the standard didn't work out, that doesn't mean that we have the power to push through negotiation. The law doesn't allow for that in many cases. So once you have legal backing, that's a big thing. If you do have that, plenty things that fall long plenty times. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't think because Tobagonians could have pushed out sandals mean they could negotiate. to push out a company isn't that hard to do. I mean, if you go and protest hard enough, you could push out a company. That doesn't mean you have the ability to negotiate to bring in a company. That's just the reality of life. It's always much easier to undo something than to do it. And I like personally, if you were to ask me, I don't know all of the. Let me before I say this, let me lay down the base. I don't know all the facts surrounding this whole Sandal situation. I know just the general bullet points. So I'm speaking in generalities here. If you're asking me just a general statement, would I have preferred Sandals, an international conglomerate company, to come and take over no man's land? I would say no. I would say, personally, I would say no. So I could understand what Aleki is saying there. It's according to what they're doing, where they're doing it, how they're doing it. It's not like once an international investor says, okay, I'm going to come and invest some money, then we're just supposed to bend over backward and say, whatever you want, master. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't make sense to work like that.
And just to add to your point, across the Caribbean, well, I call them white elephants, right? Across the Caribbean, I can check in Bahamas and these Caribbean destinations. There are examples of investors coming in to build massive resorts, and bam, everything fell along, and then the big structure just there like a white elephant, and it's just there, taking up prime real estate and serving no purpose, and then doing more harm than anything else. So before we have to be very careful when it comes to these kind of things. Be very careful what we're doing, and there are examples across the Caribbean that we can learn from. That listen, we need to be careful and think out these things carefully. We need to get consult with people.
Aleki, on a tourism front, if there's going to be, let's say, $5 billion in investment coming into Tobago for tourism, what do you think, where do you think would be the best place to spend that? How do you think would be the best way to spend that? If like there was $5 billion direct investment coming into Tobago now.
Well, the thing is, an investor, if the investor coming in, right, and bam, and right now how it is, the land license is a kind of hindrance to certain things, so most likely they have to go to somebody local, right? But the reality is, nothing is wrong. The East could do with some development, right? In terms of some of these things, right? The East could do with some of that. Nothing wrong with saying that, but the thing is, you have to understand where you're going, understand the arena you're playing, and when I say arena, I mean the surrounding area. And I have to do the physical landscape and the socio-cultural landscape as well. All these things are important, right? So I can't tell you exactly where somebody should go. I can tell you, well, the East might need some development, but the consultation is important. It's very important when you come to these things. You have to discuss things, propose something, hear the voice of the public, and then you can decide and fine.
Because I'm thinking about it here, and if I am not, but if I were a hotelier, I'm coming to put down a resort somewhere. Where in Tobago would be the ideal place to do that, really and truly? I'm wondering if Tobago is really the kind of massive resort place in the first place, or if Tobago is much more of a eco-lodge kind of place.
Good question, Nita. You started asking the right questions. Nice. Did I go nice? But Alex, let me cut you here. Do you know that a secret resort is currently under construction at the Killigrew Estate? Half of it is family friendly. The other half is adults only. Take a drive through Killigrew Estate and tell me if you don't see development taking place there. I went to the consultation, heard the views. The last thing they said is we will come back to you guys. We plan to start construction in April. We'll come back to you guys. The last time we checked, they started to bulldoze the estate already. Can the teacher say anything about that? No, they give us the impression that the teacher was also agreed. When the teacher was questioned about it, we had a conversation. We were supposed to be back with the same resort developers to figure out how we going forward. What we done to the bulldoze goes in already, which means they get all of the approval minus the THA. So if I want to invest in Toobago, I don't have to talk to the THA. I go down the road and I talk to whoever is in government, who knows, make some sweet deal for somebody, and I just go and start a bulldoze property.
Okay.
I see that is very scary, eh? That is scary.
Yeah, Ronnie, let me hear you. What's that?
All right, I remember. I know what he talking about, the Skelequin Hotel, but that was spoken by the chief secretary. He said, you know, they're going and put on this hotel because the new airport coming out, whatever. And he was the one who was like, yeah, this is what we're doing now. I didn't go to the consultation because I could never, ever find out when these consultations is. But he made it seem, and this is something that I'll always say, there are no reports ever done on anything. Nobody ever puts out any information about anything, right? So if he did that, so he made it seem to the public like he knew and he was on board with it. So now to say that the THA didn't know about it sounds...
No, what I'm saying is, the details of it, what he said he knew of it, they were in conversation, but they did not sign off on everything. There were some areas where they had us to go back to the THA to get sorted. It's a negotiation, it's a consultation.
But radiation.
The central government operates. Once I inform you, I go and do what I want.
Positive radiation. Remember we were talking earlier, Positive, about the fact that regularly in government we end up at the place where nobody is to blame for something. You may be surprised. You may be surprised that somebody in the THA, I'm not saying they do, but somebody in the THA may have knowledge that this was starting, but now they have plausible deniability because nothing was signed. So they could tell the developer, go ahead, but they could also tell the public, you know, we didn't really tell him go ahead and then nothing we could do. Politics is such a strange, dirty game too.
Agreed. Let me also go into the details at the airport because I experienced this airport relocation firsthand. My family's property is at the center of this whole construction process.
So all you hold a big money, boy. All you hold a big piece of money.
That is the mentality that causing problems for today. That's exactly the statement that you just made. Let me explain to you what happened in that. And I'm not telling you from I'm telling you like I lived the experience. Me ain't getting no media talk, no fancy talk to promote nobody.
Yeah.
A particular assemblyman, a particular secretary, because he wasn't elected, indicated a property was ready for relocation. The initial stance from the number of residents, I wasn't in support of it. Because Nathan, clearly I like to read and get things clear. When I read the Compulsory Acquisition Act, I came to the conclusion that whether we like it or not, they could take your property and they'll give you nothing. So I read it. I also spoke at the time I was a student studying aviation at UTT. I spoke with my senior lecturers at the point in time, Kaiser Airport, and they guided me throughout the process. What we found disrespectful and distasteful is residents who complied got the messy end of the stick. Residents who did not comply got the messy end of the stick. Anyhow you take it, you was getting the messy end of the stick. How could you state on the 7th of July 2020 that the sites for the relocation for the residents are complete and still to this day people having problems with water, having problems with electricity? You telling me that whole development currently has no certificate of clearance from town and country planning? You are now telling me 3-4 years later, so the money I agreed to in 2020, can that build a house in 2023? Are you telling me during that process, they had a shutdown for COVID? I had just bought material to begin construction. What can I do now when construction was halted in the middle of that process? And you are now telling me the media is telling you one picture. When we do it, when you go to these media houses, they don't want to hear us. They're not airing our concerns, and we live in the reality of it. The amount of persons who spend all of their relocation money in rent to this day, it's amazing. And then when we do speak out now, you're anti this and you're anti that. And you have secretaries You have a chief secretary that said he tours the compound. And when you look at the angle he took the photo from, is in one corner. You have residents who were relocating to houses built for residents, and the walls were cracking from the ground right up. If you want to know the reality, I would say to anybody, if you want to know that whole airport relocation bacchanal, drive through Silver Housing Development on your own, drive through Cove Development. Don't take what coming off of mainstream media. Go and experience it for yourself.
Wow. I nearly had a bad tire for a vehicle. I driving Silver with a vehicle. I nearly had a bad tire for the people in the vehicle. Because what? In there, after the chief sec, well, the chief sec at the time, and the secretary for infrastructure at the time, they pose off with photos. Because the photos there, they pose off and said it's incomplete. When I drive in there, I match the people in the vehicle. Right? So, if go for yourself, I agree with positive. Go for yourself and you go see something to see what kind of misinformation they was putting out. And they say media people and them they wasn't carrying the stories. Go in there for yourself, take a drive.
Listen,
then you will see a different story.
to me, the chief story here isn't even that the place just that the place not finished. What you talking about there, positive relation? You take me out of my family home. Some people may have been there for generations from what I understand, right? You take me out of my family home, supposed to give me money to relocate. Because of processes out of my control, all my relocation money could be spent out in rent. So you move me from a place where I had a home and now I'm homeless and I don't have money to build a house and I'm in construction too. I know the price changes from 2020 to 2023. If you built a, prices actually dropped back a bit now. If you built a house last year versus in 2019, it could have cost you easily double the price. Easily. So, 2-3 years difference on these things matter. They do matter. Wow, that's some scary stuff. And I find it amazing from what you're saying there, even from the angle of just a human interest story. Even if you weren't going on the political angle, from just a human interest story, that's a very good, a very important story, something that the country would like to hear. I am kind of shocked that this is the first time I'm hearing that in a long time. Anything about that, in fact?
Just to add this, Nathan, right? The residents they're not against new airport terminal because some of the politicians at the time who were defending the government bring it across like, you know, like the people trying to stop development. No, it was not like that. But remember, you made a very valid point. You actually leaving the people after they had a secure house. Remember, they work years and build a house where they build it, right? And to just move them in a hurry, right? And then the whole life unsettle again. They actually destroyed a whole cultural richness going on there. You know, they remove all of that, and now you will never regain that. There's something you don't think you could regain, but that's the reality of the situation, right? But you have a whole host of families on certain in terms of their living circumstances, right? And then you know that because the same people who are not against the airport now, they might see the airport in the future and watch it that bad, you know. Not because it's not a good development, you know, it's because the trauma they went through just to allow that to happen.
Bro, let me even give a lot more information before the media bust it. Let me bust it. Don't be surprised if what did happen in Beaton with the HDC earlier this week is gonna happen with some remaining compound residents at the end of this month. Look out for this story.
Listen though, Trinidad, I will never want to be a politician really and truly in Trinidad because governing Trinidad with Trinidadians is a nearly impossible thing. When you read some of that story with that esporters winning HDC, some of the people making noise are illegal tenants, you know. I was reading one, a lady's complaining her brother has an apartment and her sister moved in with her brother and the sister moved in with 3 children and 3 grandchildren and the HDC relocate her brother, but now where the sister going to stay? And in my mind I'm like, what? But that's not the HDC's business really and truly. But that's the problem that we developed in Trinidad and Tobago.
Pushing. We have legal landowners in Tobago who can't even speak to the media because you talk to them today, tomorrow a vehicle will drive around, and then you realize all of a sudden everybody in the walk watching your bad eye. You find all of a sudden you start to get short pay. So the Tobago, it's so close knit that from the time you speak or somebody hear your voice, they'll say yes, I know it's who, and all of a sudden nothing works for you anymore.
Wow.
At least in Trinidad they could talk because at least they get juke, but over here it's a whole different ball game.
And part of the problem, the reason that's a problem also is because the THA employs so many people. If the THA didn't employ so many people, the ability to persecute you would be much lower.
Okay, let's not wait. Wait. We read the trainers on the THA. The current THA.
No.
This is a central. No, just wait. This is a central government project, right? And the THA would have done all of this, would have been the previous THA, right? So you think that people in this THA that want to punish people to that degree, I think they have a lot of
I don't think he's saying that, because this THA is the one that's trying to sort out the mess.
No,
right?
I'm talking about it's whoever said you're getting short pay and kind of thing. It's like, you know.
No, well, I don't think he's referring to the THA. I don't think he's referring to the THA.
Allow me to clarify my statement. Mr. Roney, I am not speaking about this current THA. There is a reason why that particular area elected a particular representative. I don't know if you have observed it. When our area representative then spoke on our behalf, he was called into a disciplinary meeting, and that outraged the residents in the area. So all we simply did was change where we voted and the way we voted. It was that simple.
You see, positive radiation, y'all don't understand how much when I hear things like this, I wish politics in Trinidad could have had at least a semblance of some of that. Like, Tobagonians don't understand the good that they have. There are nearly no communities in Trinidad. There are nearly no communities in Trinidad that could function the way you functioned there. A political party insulted us, and we go as a bloc and move to vote in another. Listen, that close-knitness in Tobago have some benefits in. I personally, if you ask me, I don't think voting for the PDP was a good idea because I don't think their leadership was in a proper thing. If you ask me personally. But the fact that Tobago was able to look at the PNM, who they voted for unanimously previously, look at them and say, you know what, we don't like what you all been doing us for the past decade. Out. Everybody. Basically. That's amazing. That's amazing. That is
2 decades.
Yeah, 2 decades. That's I would love to see that function, that kind of politics function more widely in Trinidad. I'd love to see that, in fact. Now, I understand, as you see, that even though it's functioning so, you're still struggling to get things done. I understand that totally. But just the ability to get a block of people to make a change like that, that's amazing. That's amazing, bro. I like that. I really do.
What change? No, I'm happy. So, no. No, that's not your mouth. My grandfather, who is like a piano man, he was happy that they were there for too long. And anybody who's a reasonable person would know. Even when they won only seats, my grandfather said that's not a good thing. They need an opposition. Right? I think about this my grandfather is PNM, card member, everything. Understand? He had a level head about the situation. Obviously, he was of like, PDP should win, but the way they win, he was like, that's going to be trouble because you have no opposition to really hold accountable. And as we see, that is what they have been doing, not being held accountable. And they have been doing madness. I check these people books. These people be doing craziness. Crazy, they creating. I don't think I can say that, but they creating crazy. They creating funds
Don't get yourself in no trouble, there. Don't get yourself in no trouble, there.
Can I interrupt now, Miss Ronnie? Am I permitted to speak?
You see, the thing about it is when I'm speaking, I don't say, like, I can speak now. Am I permitted to speak? No, I wait until I done speak and I speak. So you don't need to come with this condescending too. That you're coming back. So these international women, they have some respect.
My profuse pardons, my torrential apologies.
Enjoy.
Yeah, positive. What else you gonna say?
Right. Oh, let me be honest with you. One of my biggest fears when I saw the results, I am thinking Rome wasn't built in a day and change would take time. When you have persons in a system over a number of years, accustomed to the exact same thing, you're going to have issues to change. Persons, are you telling me you're going to change a system that everybody knew was problematic? You can't just expect that change, not even in a 4-year term, not even in a 5-year term. It's going to take a very long time to adjust the mindset. It's going to take new persons getting into the system. It's going to take promotions. So that transitional period is going to take a lot of time. And I think other persons be expecting instantaneous change, but it's not going to happen. Because you can't tell me I'm a senior manager for 20, 30, 40 years. I'm accustomed doing something one way. And because the government changed, come to tell me I must change that all of a sudden, I am still the person to approve it. According to the THA Act, the chief administrator is the accountable officer. And in all of the divisions, the individual who is accountable is the administrator. So we could blame politicians how much we want in this Toobago space, even with the same zipline issue that we know was bandied about during the election. There is a reason why that whole case is on standstill. Because the politicians are there to make the policies, the administrators are the persons to implement it. So if you do really investigate, if an administrator meets upon something that is wrong, he or she does not have to sign off on it. He or she could say, no, I'm not implementing this. He or she could simply say, okay, cool, and rest it aside and don't do nothing. And the most the politician could do is report it to the Public Service Commission. And we know how investigations go in this country. So I think we need to come out of that mindset and we need to look at exactly how the system operates, learn exactly what happened, and come to the understanding that a politician cannot, specifically in the Toobago space, change something with the stroke of a pen. It's not that simple.
I just think it's so funny that this is the rhetoric around now when on campaign that wasn't it. Like it had no sympathy for when, like, I was listening to Zoraida, is her name? His education. I remember her name. And I must give her props. She is always willing to give interviews and she does not back down from the hard question. And she has been the only person that I have seen admit that when she was not in power, she did not understand that she did not have power. And she wished that she was not so harsh on previous secretaries. Because she, in a situation where she asked an administrator to do things and they're not doing it. So I think now that everybody had the chance to play in the fun and they see like, okay, cool, I don't really have that power. Like, please understand that you need to be a little bit more forgiving. Like this old peer, and I'm not going to be coming into power next time. You all shouldn't be funny and being like, oh, well, they didn't do anything when you know damn well that they couldn't do anything. And administrators are the biggest thieves in the THA. They thief even more than all the secretaries put together.
So, James, Saunders, the thing is, for political parties should invest more on voter education so that voters can make more informed decisions and understand how things work. For many political parties, it's better for them when the voters are ignorant, If the voters are most knowledgeable, then they're going to decide to vote for someone who actually works. And if you're not the one who is the best worker here, it's in your best interest, you know what? Let's keep these voters dumb as possible. That's why, like in the United States, I am always suspicious when I see certain parties say, let's lower the voting age. I'm like, you are a crook. Anyone who wants to lower the voting age, I look at you as a crook. You're looking to get more ignorant, more uninformed voters to vote. That's some crookish stuff. That's some crookish stuff. I don't trust you at all. And I agree with what you're saying there, Ronnie. And I have probably made 4 videos already since I've been making these videos, quoting Dr. Rowley's statement he said in 2011 or something like that, where if a government cannot deal with crime, then they are part of the problem and they should leave, or something to that effect. He said something like that, and that regularly comes back to haunt him because now he is in governance and crime is still running out of hand and he cannot control it. And that's part of the problem. And I agree with what you're saying, Ronnie. Some contrition would help. Like what Positive Radiation is saying there, I agree. Yes, I know some of these things, to get them done isn't easy, but you have to understand that you were making it seem like it would be so easy when you were in opposition. So you made it seem so easy. That's why people are asking, well, you made it seem so easy, why aren't you doing it? They know the crimes and they should take them to court. PDP breaks in to do the right thing. Positive says, you'll never hear me say no political party did nothing for the country. If you know, I hate to see that. People say, the so-and-so did nothing good for the... From the time I hear you say things like that, so-and-so did nothing good, I'm like, well, you aren't a logical participant in this discussion. James Honda says, if I were a new party building my base, that would be my strategy too. You see,
nobody knows.
I understand why you say that. That's my strategy. I am not building a party, but that's my strategy. I'm aiming to give as much information and knowledge to as many people as possible. But I understand that knowledge isn't what makes people vote, and people aren't generally most enthusiastic about knowledge. Generally speaking, you need to spend money and advertise. That's who is going to win. You could spread as much knowledge as you want. Spending money and advertising is the main thing. Unless you're in Tobago. Then in Tobago,
get Bacchanal and Lackery and calling each other names on the campaign and having memes and all of those things.
In Tobago,
those get Trinbagonians to
I feel I could run a political campaign in Tobago. That might be interesting because Tobago is small enough that you could actually go around and speak to the people. And I think that's what the PDP did. Although on the airwaves, you look at the news, you look at the advertisements on TV and radio, you couldn't get it. But they went around on the ground. And they did that way.
Just adding here, right? But the system, we remember we inherited the Westminster system.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the system is, but we have our, eventually we develop our own form of it, right? That's how the system operates, right?
Yeah.
And we can't expect a new system or the political culture just change just like that, eh? I understand what James is saying now. I understand all these different things, but we just can't. How the political culture is, we just can't expect to change overnight either. Mm-hmm. So somebody might put change and make moves towards changing that, but it already concreted in that way that it ain't gonna change overnight. So,
and it to bring us back, as it were, full circle, to realize that very often, sometimes some people do have intention of change, but when you get into the position, you recognize that what you could do there is very limited. The amount of power you have to actually enact change is very limited. That's why in the US political space, regularly over the last about 8 years or so, you've been hearing people speak about things like the deep state. When they talk about the deep state, what they're talking about in the US is their version of the administrators in the THE. And the administrators in the United States government, some of them have been there since the 1980s. And each government comes, each government goes, the same administrators are there. And those administrators have their own views on things. Some of them are corrupt. And the problem with that is, if I vote for Watson Duke as the chief secretary, what I want is the Watson Duke theology, ideology, everything. I want that governing my country. But when you have these administrators as stopgap measures inside there, you don't get what you vote for. You vote for this person, and the administrators stop this person from enacting the things. I think what we need to be able to do more often is actually, and this may get sketchy, but actually I think government should be able to get rid of most administrators and bring in their own administrators when they come in. I think so. Most of them. I know people would hate it. But I think that should happen. And the way that would make more sense is the government shouldn't be employing 60% of the country's workers. The government should have a much smaller group of people that they employ, and when the government changes, those people change too.
And I understand the point you're making there, and I understand why we made the point as well. And yes, it have its benefits. The suggestion he made, it had its benefits and it had its disadvantages, right? And I understand where you're coming from. I totally understand where you're coming from, right? But in the Toobago space, these public servants, like for example, I think when you mentioned the Secretary for Education, she did come out and tell the public when she was actually signing off on the like the school repair programs and the administrator was not carrying it out. She did come out and tell the public that listen, I signed off for this at a certain time. I realized eventually I signed off on the thing, and the administrator was supposed to do their part, and they wasn't doing their part. I realized certain time was passing, and I realized they didn't do their part. And she did say she said she would reach out to the chief secretary, who reached out to the chief administrator. So it is the chief administrator who instructed that. Well, I think the chief administrator took over in a sense, because realized what was going on, and the chief administrator started making instructions, and how the school repair program started happening. So the secretary for education didn't go and say, well, my administrator, she did not carry on instructions, so let she move. No, is the chief administrator the one that had to come and make those instructions and those movements, right?
And Aleki, how is it? I'll let you continue, but tell me, how is it? This is why I hate the public service so much sometimes. How is it that you could be in a job, your boss tells you to enact a certain thing, you don't do it, but you still have your job? They're supposed to be fired.
That's why the public service is so weird, and the public service commission is very well sometimes lethargic, and I can find all kind of words to describe them, right? But and then there's another scenario where another person who is acting in the position of an administrator made some moves that wasn't at some point allegedly not legal, right? And at the same way too, they had to persons had to do investigation and checking on the person and realize that listen, you're not accounting for this, right? And the same chief administrator again had to and really what asking for certain things and ensuring that they get certain things, right? But before I say this, right, I remember when we were talking about the politician, I remember one former chief secretary admitted, I ain't calling names, one former chief secretary admitted that he said if he had to do it again, one area that he will focus on is tourism. Right? He said it. And I was shocked that he made that statement. But he said if he had to do it again, he will focus, one of the areas he will focus on is tourism. Like there's an area he didn't focus on, he did admit that. And I know I could tell certain people where it happened and where he said it and who it is, but not in this public space. Mm-hmm. But I digress.
Yeah. I would just like to point out that I think that administrators are sabotaging the THE right now. Well, last year, because I know for a fact, so I would account a while now, a few years now, and one thing that we had always done when we close the financial year is print checks for daily paid workers, because remember they get paid bi-weekly, right? I'm now shipping like fortnightly. They get paid fortnightly, so you will print their checks at the end of September, because you can't print checks until October when funds are released. Everybody knows this. This is like countrywide known, right? And last September, I don't know if all the divisions had that problem, but I know for sure works had that problem. The workers were not paid until October because they did not bring checks, and obviously funds would not have been released for that.
I find that problem is supposed to be easy to solve. Fire them, but again, public service.
Yeah, fire them. But
sorry.
But the chief secretary did actually come out and speak about that, and he said, they spoke to who is his wife, finance or something to release funds sooner because people didn't get paid and whatever. And I find that was real as an administrator, and especially like an executive accountant or whatever they have here. Like, you're supposed to know this is something that you do every year. You reach up there last year, you reach there by years. So every say you there 10, 15, 20 years, you there, you print the checks in September, and you did not do it. So why? And nobody's asking.
Sabotage.
Nobody's investigated. You just say, well, that's that. So yeah, that's just something to see. I think we have initiated any THA trying very hard to sabotage.
All right, Positive. Let me hear what you have to say, and this will be the closing one. Looking to head out there.
Yeah, that one.
Problem. Let me just add two things that I found interesting. One, I was doing some reading into the same teach act and why they do like that. The purpose for the administrators basically was to act as a buffer between the politician and actually getting work done. So they were not supposed to be the blockers, but supposed to be like a filter basically. They were not supposed to be political, not supposed to be biased. All these nice fancies, but we see where it creates a problem, firstly. Secondly, I think where I was disappointed in some areas is the level of education going forward. Because what we have seen over the years is an uneducated voter population would make certain decisions. And I think now, when you explain to the Tobago population, or let's say Trinidad and Tobago by extension, what happens, why we end up in that position, I think people appreciate it a lot more now. We saw it happen with the last sitting with the motion of no confidence into the Secretary for Works, where we had the Deputy Chief Secretary literally breaking down the different procurement procedures. And I saw in some comments of a former Chief Secretary stating, why is she explaining to the public procurement? We have procurement officers in the THA for that. And that is where I think we need to head going forward, even at the national level, whether it be the government and the opposition, let both come, explain your positions and allow us, the public, to do our research and to comment on it. Good night, guys. Keep Tobago in your prayers. We ain't want no division.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah. I fully agree. I fully agree. The problem with the administrators sabotaging, that's the problem in public service where you can't get rid of people in the first place. The thing with the administrators being the buffer, you regularly see that in government. So that's how bureaucracy is created. Earlier, someone was saying that Trinidad and Tobago might be the most bureaucratic country in the world. That's how bureaucracy is created. You're trying to create a buffer so that corruption doesn't happen. So you don't want the politician to directly give contracts out because you're afraid the politician steals the money. So you have an administrator in between to sign off on that contract. But then now this administrator gets a pivotal amount of power there, and they start to do strange things with that power. So in order to stop that, you have to get now another administrator over them to look over what they do. And now you have 5 administrators in the chain before a decision is made, and that just makes the thing take longer. You may say in the long run, you know what? Let's risk the politicians stealing it and let them just make the decisions and done. All right, people, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. This has been the Mindful Live, and I will see you again tomorrow evening. Tomorrow is Thursday, so it's Thursday Talks tomorrow, where we're just discussing whichever topic comes up in the live, in the discussion. We'll be discussing that tomorrow. Hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you guys later. Peace.